In October 1913, nearly 1,000 railway workers on the Great Western Railway either died or were injured at work. If 1,000 people had been killed or injured on the railways today, quite rightly there would be a public outcry. So let's have a look at some of the objects here on display at the Foxfield Railway Museum, which explore how the railways dealt with this crisis and promote a health and safety culture at work, which helped save so many lives. Railway work has unfortunately always been dangerous. One of the most famous railway accidents was on the 15th of September 1830 at the opening of the world's first mainline intercity passenger railway, the Liverpool and Manchester Railway, when Robert Stephenson's rocket ran over and mortally wounded the Tory MP William Huskisson. During the 19th century, the railways became notorious for their unsafe working practices. We have here a copy of a cartoon from the Punch magazine from March 29, 1879, and it notes that for railway shunters, the people who went in between the carriages and wagons to couple them up with a shunter's pole, there were 1,000 accidents a year in the 1870s. By 1900, there were 16,000 accidents which killed or injured railwaymen at work. By 1913, that had risen to 30,000 accidents in which railwaymen and railwaywomen were killed or injured at work. So something had to be done to improve railway safety. A press campaign urged the railway companies into action, and they started what we would now describe as health and safety at work. It began with the Great Western Railway, which published this booklet in 1913 entitled The Safety Movement, and it was issued to each of the 80,000 men and women employed by the Great Western Railway. It basically tells you how to keep safe at work, but it gives at the back just an extract for 1 month of accidents and injuries in October 1913. In the passenger department, 4 men were killed, 134 were injured. In the goods department, for October 1913, no men were killed, but 260 were injured. In the locomotive and carriage department, no deaths, but 332 injuries. In the engineering department, 2 men were killed, 183 were injured. And finally, for the signalling department, 25 men were injured. In total, in just 1 month on the Great Western Railway in October 1913, 6 employees were killed and 934 were injured. That's nearly 1,000 accidents in a month. So books like these were published explaining best practice. Each railway company produced its own. This example was published by the London and North Western Railway in 1918, and it belonged to Mr. E. Manning, working from St. Albans. This example was published during the Second World War, again to remind railway workers the stress of wartime to keep safe at work. This different way of working challenged many age-old practices. Some felt it was the management overstepping their mark, and others thought it would slow down work on the railways, that you just had to get your job done, when some of these warnings should be glaringly obvious. And in the case of the London North Western Safety Manual, instead of extinguishing an electrical fire with water, instead rather use sand, as results from using water and electrical fire are rather fatal. But guidance like this, and especially the invention of the high-vis jacket in the 1960s, has had the biggest effect on reducing accidents on the railways at work. Some of these examples seem glaringly obvious to us. For example, not standing on top of a locomotive tender or a carriage near a low bridge, not standing between buffers of wagons, not riding on a brake stick, not opening a horse box with your foot in the way, or in the case of the Great Western Rulebook, not using your thumb to guide a saw blade, not using your thumb to guide a piece of timber on a bandsaw, lifting with the knees, not with the back. These days we would carry out a risk assessment and provide training at work through booklets like this, but also through training films and training classes to learn best examples of keeping safe at work. Tokens like this were produced by the Great Western Railway. It's called a safety talisman. It was meant to go in your pocket with your loose change. It says on one side, "Look before you leap. Ask, is it safe?" And on the opposite side, in every action, ask yourself, is it safe? The idea was this would go in a railwayman's pocket along with his loose change, and every time he picked up his change, he would see it and see the message, is it safe? Many railway companies also operated their own first aid training, often in association with the St John's Ambulance Brigade. One of them was the Midland Railway and its successor, the London, Midland and Scottish Railway. And this ambulance organisation and classes booklet was published by the LMS and is part of our collection here in the Foxfield Railway. Members of the St John's Ambulance Brigade at each railway had a distinctive arm badge which was sewn to the uniform, and we have one on display in our collection. And to show that they were proficient and well trained, in the first year they would receive a certificate and a second certificate upon their re-examination. After 3 years of proficiency, they were issued with bronze medals like these. So we have the cross for 3 years, and for every year of re-examination, a clasp was added, and each clasp is dated. These medals are part of the Foxfield collection. This example belonged to Albert Bolland, and it's dated from 1927 to 1938. This second example, again in gilt bronze, was owned by Gordon Bolland, and it's dated from 1949 to 1951. We're not sure who Albert and Gordon Bolland are, so if you're watching and if you're related to the Bollands, perhaps you'd like to get in touch and let us know who Albert and Gordon are. We'd be delighted to hear from you. And you can find out more about railway safety in the 19th and the early 20th century here in the Foxfield Museum in our display on railway safety. If you'd like to find out more about the Foxfield Railway and the Foxfield Railway Museum, check out our social media and visit foxfieldrailway.co.uk. I'd love to welcome you to the Foxfield Railway and to explore the Foxfield Railway Museum.